A description of how the child's progress towards meeting the annual goals will be measured. Periodic reports on the progress the child is making toward meeting the annual goals, such as through the use of quarterly or other periodic reports concurrent with the issuance of report cards, will be provided.
What does that mean, Jen?
That's one of those phrases that when you read it, you think, what does that mean, right? What it basically means is this. We have measurable goals. We have measurable annual goals. And what the IEP also has to have is a description of how we're going to measure it and when and how often the parents are going to be informed of the child's progress. That's really what it means. Because we want to make sure that the parents are being informed, and they're required to be informed on a regular basis as to how the child is progressing towards their annual goal. Very common, it's quarterly, but again, your state may do it differently, but you have to understand that it's not to replace the report card. If your school district provides report cards to all children in the district who have any education, whether or not they have an IEP, then they have to provide a report card to your child as well. But so this is not to replace the report card. But very often what school districts will do, and again, you'll have to take a look at your district and your state, is they will provide progress towards goals at the same time that they provide progress towards goals for all kids. So when the report cards come out is a very natural time for it to happen. It doesn't have to happen then, but that's a very natural time.
You know, the way that I like to look at it is you've got the annual goals. Well, we have to know if the child is making progress or not.
Right.
So it is that accountability factor that all teachers and teams have, even with students who are in regular education.
Exactly.
We have to measure how kids are doing, and that's basically what it's all about, simply put.
Very simply put, because the purpose is pretty obvious, but it bears repeating, which is both the parents and the school team should be taking a look and seeing if by the first or second quarter it doesn't look like this child is making any progress towards these goals, then maybe it's time to rewrite the goals or change the program. And so I see that fairly often where, you know, the first quarter comes, the second quarter comes, and if it's satisfactory progress or limited progress, maybe you want to give it some more time. But if it's not yet introduced because you haven't been able to do that for whatever reason, it's probably time to either reconvene that IEP meeting or amend the IEP in some way.
Right. And so in one case, it might be that the team is deciding that that goal is not appropriate because it's just not where the child is at right now, so it may be ahead of where the child is. And another case might be that it's actually too easy and we have to set a goal that might be a little bit more difficult.
Exactly. Or, and this is the reason that it's so important to become familiar with these requirements, is that it may be a reflection of whether the program is appropriate. The person who wrote that annual goal could be, let's say, a speech and language pathologist who worked with the child the previous year, who at that time thought that in a year, I think it's reasonable that this child's going to get to this level. And if the child isn't anything close to that, maybe we have a problem with the program. Maybe the person who's now providing the service is either not effective, or maybe this goal is not appropriate anymore for reasons that we all need to investigate. So that's why we want to keep ourselves apprised as to the child's progress. So the IEP has to tell you how you're going to find out about your child's progress.